Yeah,
right
don't
now.
give too much away about like what tech paths
Oh
and
yeah.
things you're doing. You
No
never
problem.
know who is stream sniping. You just got to be careful about that.
I, to be perfectly honest, I don't care someone stream snipes. I mean, if to be perfectly honest, if they don't expect me to already have fully upgraded fighters from all the fighting I've been doing, I really don't expect them to be like, I would expect from a competent player to already expect that I have fully upgraded fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Is essentially what I'm saying. And if people don't think that I do, I'm like, why would you not? I've been fighting nonstop air wars since day one.
So you're sending a lot of volunteers and stuff then. In fact, I haven't even been looking at air volunteers. Only of us looking at infantry. Or,
Yeah, I
ground.
currently have about 400 planes going around as air volunteers.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah. I gain about 5 air I literally gain about 2 or 3 air XP a day.
Anyway,
So,
I should get back to commentating on the wars and things that are going on, so I shall let you go.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the rage against the USA.
It's okay. I understand that one, because that's supposed to be a player that's supposed to be balancing out for the Entente, so them losing so catastrophically, it's a problem. It's a big problem.
It is. Got it. Well, hope you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Good luck. Alright, so that was Y-Man of the 3rd Internationale again for the Union of Britain. Obviously very happy with how the USA is doing right now, and they are almost out of fuel again. But they've almost killed a pocket, so there's that. 10 divisions going right there. It does look like they're starting to get a little bit more impetus against the CSA, but they've just lost so much territory. Oh no, that's another CSA encirclement. And the AUS is now going to be on a border with the US, and I'm not convinced about that. Wait, oh no, CSA. I was like, why can't I see any troops down here? Because I keep clicking up here and it's technically CSA territory. Meanwhile, Princely Federation has just capitulated to the Dominion of India. So Dominion of India doing pretty good job there, taking the territories. Now they can focus almost entirely on Baratia, though they do still need to worry about the princely miners. And there we go. Dominion of India took 5 states, Madras and Princely Federation. Done. So they're going to be fighting against Baratia. Is Nepal in this? Nepal is fighting against Dominion of India. Interesting. Again. Oh man. And yeah, not using very many... In fact, this looks like an AI organization. Loads of field marshals. He is moving around generals, so it looks like he's getting some instruction.
Keep your distance.
And it looks like he's reorganizing his armies a little bit. Meanwhile, oh, that's because it's CSA, it is an AI. This is what I was trying to look at. And yeah, you're not wrong. He's oversubscribing his infantry for no real reason. Other than perhaps just trying to keep units in one place, but then you could use the field marshal orders for that. And considering I'm guessing that America has more field marshals and could certainly promote some more field marshals, they have no shortage of generals. Should probably be expanding those a little bit. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Bulgaria. I was a little bit concerned about Bulgaria earlier on. That's why I was kind of constantly zooming over here. Because they didn't seem to be getting much luck in pushing. They're still not using front lines. I think that this is still a mistake. Should be using front lines. They can at least be getting the planning preparation done. Though maybe he's going to be using command power to just quickly push that out. But you'd save command power if you're doing this. But he does he has done a good job against Greece. Probably actually using the German units to push out. So Germany has sent some volunteers to Bulgaria, which is good. Meanwhile, Wadai is dead. We saw that earlier. Indochina is at peace. So they've made their peace deal with German East Asia, so that is the white peace that has now been established. So Indochina can now start focusing on actually building up. Fentieng, meanwhile, has gobbled up one of the other miners out here. That was Sichuan Clique. and they are now obviously getting ready for a war against the League of Eight Provinces. It is going to be, oh, 5 provinces, interesting to see if the League of Eight 5 Provinces is going to get reinforcements from anyone. I think that Reichspakt would be making a big mistake if they give this land to Fentiang. Fentiang has had a very easy job of just gobbling everything else up here, and I think that is also a mistake. Like, they should have been trying to hold them here. Just send lots and lots of volunteers and try and hold them at the pass before they can spread out and take the interior, because it gets a lot quicker that way. Can Canada intervene in the war? Yes, they can, and I think they're gonna have to. Sultanate of Egypt declared war on the Ottomans. Iran declared war on the Ottomans. So this is the best possible situation for Bulgaria. Sometimes Iran doesn't join against the Ottomans. When it's a two-front war, I find the Ottomans really struggle a lot more. Also, India might be looking at this with interest. Rebellion in Yemen goes on. Now, do they have to fight these guys at the same time? No, those are separate wars. Okay, makes sense. Meanwhile, the war here in the Baltic Duchy continues on. There are a lot of volunteers. Polish-Lithuanian, Polish-Lithuanian. In fact, that's a lot of Polish-Lithuanian volunteers here. Are they at war? No, they're not at war with them. War goal. Romania is justifying against Poland. Against Galicia, maybe? Except Galicia is not Polish. I don't know. So if we just go over to the Baltic Duchy, I just want to see how many volunteers they're getting. They're getting volunteers from Sweden, but that's it. So what are you doing? You're not actually sending troops. They must just have access. Again, allies. Yeah, they're getting access. They're worried about this being a hostile border. Meanwhile, in the north, Baltic Duchy is being pushed almost entirely out. This is probably Russia's doing? Russia's not at war anymore with Alash Order. They do seem to have lost all of the volunteers that they'd sent out. Yeah, Russia doesn't have any volunteers at all. Oh no, they've got some in PSA, but that's it. They're getting Lend-Lease from all of their allies. They're at war, that's why they don't have any volunteers. Ooh, no, it's Baltic Duchy. Yeah, Russia's just getting Lend-Leases, so the co-prosperity sphere is clearly putting a lot of emphasis on having a strong Russia, as some of the other players had said before. Clearly preparing for a war against Don-Kuban Union to start clearing up some of the Caucasus regions and probably go for the Baku oil fields. Meanwhile, AUS is starting to push in against the Pacific states. Some of the mountainous territory down here in New Mexico is starting to fall. Meanwhile, the USA is still just not able to push into New England. New York is still CSA. They have taken Detroit, but that's it. Chicago still holds. Meanwhile, AUS, are they pushing? They've just taken Charleston, West Virginia. There is only one Charleston, and it's in South Carolina. We'll need to watch that. The river just outside of Frankfurt and Louisville. Which countries are supporting the USA? That's a good question. So the USA is being supported by Australasia, Nationalist France, and Peru-Bolivia. They're also getting Lend-Lease from Australasia and Canada. CSA is being supported by Union of Britain, Communist France, Socialist Italy, and Socialist Switzerland. They're getting Lend-Lease from nobody. And then the AUS is getting volunteers from Austria, Germany, Sweden, and the Ukraine. No Lend-Leases. I think that's a mistake. I think they probably would need some Lend-Lease. Because the advantage the Reichspakt have is they have a huge industry. They absolutely out-industry other factions. And I think they need to probably be trying to support the Union State. Because they have a very, very real chance of winning this if they were supporting the AUS. And having a USA on the Reichspakt side, especially in such close proximity to Canada, that would be a big deal. And then we've got the PSA, who is being supported by Russia, Japan, and Siam, but again, no Lend-Lease. Not Lend-Leasing Pacific states makes more sense, because they do have manpower issues. Although right now, They have more manpower than the AUS. Oh, no, they don't. Never mind. It was CSA that was low. No, it's not. It's the USA that's low. Yeah, it's the USA who's shockingly low. Shockingly. So Marklik, Kumul Khanate's fighting against Turkestan. Marklik's fighting against Mongolia. Then Baratia and Dominion of India are fighting. Now, Baratia is definitely harder than Princely Federation, simply because they can get a lot more troops. Now, is anybody supporting Baratia? No. And I think that's a mistake as well. Are they allowed to? Actually, it's a good question. Chat, are the Third International allowed to support Baratia? That might be one of the rules where they can't, because they're not allowed to support the Princely Federation. Meanwhile, the Ottomans are holding somewhat steady, holding the line against Iran. They're taking out some territories in Iraq. I think they are losing ground. Whose side's Mashriq on? Mashriq's on the Arabic side, so they are starting to take some territories towards the sea, which is cutting off all of these Ottoman units. They don't have any ports in Sinai. They don't have any ports down in Medina and Mecca area, so it's just going to be up here. So the Ottomans not looking too healthy. Meanwhile, Bulgaria has now defeated the Greeks. They are leaving units down here for some reason. Not sure why they're doing that. Oh, no, they just added. There we go. So we've got attacks going in against Serbia. We're actually really just holding the line against Serbia and Romania. Most likely just waiting for the units to shift. Where are the German volunteers gone? Because I'm pretty sure it was the Germans who pushed the line against Greece. They're just hanging out in southern Egypt, southern Greece right now. Just you know, having a bit of a holiday. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Line. They've just retaken Charleston. So it looks like the USA is starting to do a little bit of damage against the AUS. CSA seems entrenched and fine. They are attacking New York, but this is actually a very difficult attack to pull off. And they are attacking into Philadelphia. So I think they will slowly start to consolidate in New England. But it's a little bit of a ticking time bomb against the USA because of this. I'm not convinced they're going to have the manpower. Especially not at the rate they're losing it. How are their unit strengths? Unit strengths right now getting a bit low. CSA does look a lot healthier. And they're probably going to have some pretty big gun shortages. I don't want to check that because stream sniping. But that's my prediction. Meanwhile, AUS versus PSA. I'm going to say the AUS is still pushing because it looks like more of these mountains are being taken. Is there still the Rockies down here? Yeah, it totally is. These are Sierra Nevadas, these are the Rockies. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Meanwhile, India. This is the one I'm kind of interested in. This feels like a bit of a stalemate, and I'm not entirely sure how India is going to resolve this. Because once Baratia gets entrenched, it is actually remarkably hard to push them. Although it looks like they're getting some territory up here. But this is going to be straightening, or it's... what's the word? Putting some strain on the logistic supply for the Dominion as well. I guess they're using these units to pin these three so they can't reinforce, then they can keep pushing out towards Kutak and north. Maybe towards Calcutta. Maybe that's their plan, take Calcutta. That would make sense. It's like the Hungarian troops just chilling in Italy. Yeah, that's true, in the multiplayer. So, Germany is finally moving. Okay, so they're starting to move north, and it looks like the Bulgarian forces are beginning to attack. They are leaving 2 lines, so they're only actually attacking with about half of their men, because... oh no, it's just one dude on that line, never mind. They are defending some of these fallback lines for some reason. They've pushed across the river though, they're across the Danube. Huzzah! And that is a big deal. Pushing across this river is basically the beginning of the end for Romania. And if they can keep pushing into Bucharest, which this unit is doing right here, it looks like they're going to be able to do that, supported by Ukraine. Ukraine's been very good at sending volunteers. Ukraine and Sweden. Portugal's joined the Entente. We'll see if they now need to be kicked. I don't know how that's dealt with. Because you can't kick factions. Agent Striker, thank you very much for the 5-month resubscription. Very much appreciate the ongoing support there. And in fact, I should take a look at my notifications, because there have been a few. Best Liferers, this one's for you. Dima Lunsky, Vesticus, Supreme Burger, thank you very much for the follows. Welcome to the channel. And Agent Striker, thanks again very much for the resubscription. 5 months, thank you. Can you see the losses in the American Civil War? You absolutely can. So the United States of America has lost 353,000. Combined syndicates actually lost 1.1 million. AUS has only lost 92,000. The Pacific States have lost 20,000. Is that the same in each of the wars? No. USA has lost 600,000 against the CSA, who have lost 793,000. So who's the CSA losing all their troops to? Or is this just overall? So the USA has killed almost 800,000. Whereas from the US perspective, they've lost 605,000, half of which to both, none to the Pacific States. Meanwhile, the attack on Philadelphia is starting to falter a little bit. The attack on New York, slow but steady. They are taking Hartford. So beginning to wrap up in Connecticut and then pushing north from there into Massachusetts. They have, however, taken Boston. No, they haven't. They've just failed to take Boston. And continue to fail to take Boston. I have to look. You're on a balanced. You're on a aggressive. Yeah, that's why they're losing a lot. Aggressive battle plans.
Move out.
Man, this is just so inefficient. It's so inefficient. Oh, I need to look away. This is hurting me. Oh, I was like 8 divisions? Common in France is 8? But no, they have another 53 down there. Alright, fair enough. Admins are like, sure, Entente, you can have Portugal seeing as you don't have the US. I shouldn't laugh at that, but that is pretty funny. Meanwhile, India has now just set up a field marshal line. They've taken Calcutta. They've taken Dhaka. Dhaka. And Baratia is looking a little bit worse for wear. The problem is they're going to be very easy to cut off here. It would be really easy for the AI to just take Calcutta back again, and just sticking a unit in any of these provinces, and this guy is cut off and could easily be destroyed. It's risky. And without being able to take Patna, without being able to take Darjeeling, nice tea from there, I don't think they're going to have the ability to actually capitulate Baratia. Now, taking Calcutta is a big deal, and they really need to be garrisoning Calcutta now. Insular India declared war on the Dutch East Indies, so that is the Dutch East Indies Civil War. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, won the civil war against Najd. And Mashriq, I think, is growing. Yemen certainly is. And yeah, they are pushing up the Levant. So the Ottomans are in trouble. Bulgaria, meanwhile, it does look like Romania is breathing their last. And then once all of the troops against Romania are consolidated for a fight against Serbia, Serbia is going to hold out. They're going to hold out very vigorously because it's really difficult territory into Serbia. But they will be able to whittle them down and then push through to Belgrade, especially if they're getting reinforcements from others. Now, is Serbia being supported? No. Nobody is sending volunteers to Serbia or to Romania. Bulgaria, meanwhile, is getting volunteers from the Ukraine and Germany. They're not shipping up to Boston. Great tune. Great reference. Agent Stryker wishes me to drink some tea, seeing as we mentioned Darjeeling. New York has finally fallen to the USA. Hail, it's about time. And now they're going to be pushing up through Manhattan. Meanwhile, Boston is under attack, but so far Boston's holding, but Boston is cut off. So, the USA is starting to do a little bit better. It does look like they're starting to actually micro some. Attacking into the North Peninsula, slowly but steadily making gains. They are attacking into Chicago, although not particularly effectively. Meanwhile, while the USA is so badly distracted, how's the AUS doing? Pushing further and further north. I wonder if the AUS is trying to cut the PSA off from the CSA, and then they'd be able to come in round the back and take that stuff. And then it would be the AUS in the middle against the USA and the PSA. Is that what they're planning to do? I mean, it's an AI, so it's kind of hard to say what exactly their plans would be. Is the AUS being supported? Yeah. Germany, Sweden, Austria, and Ukraine are all supporting. Where are the troops? Over here. Fighting against the US. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Pushing up towards Washington by the looks of things. Like all 5 Ukrainians. And then the PSA... basically just holding the line. We've got the Russians there. Not seeing any of the others. Oh no, the Japanese are over here. So a little bit spread out. Not as... well, actually, this was just the Ukrainians. I don't know where the Swedes and the Germans and the Austrians are. And then on the American front, we have got volunteers from Australasia, France, and Peru, Bolivia. Nothing from Canada. Is Canada at war? Canada's at war, so they can't send volunteers. Nope, that's America. Why are you not... Canada's in the war with Costa Rica. Wow, that's an important one. Clicking the wrong buttons. What was that? That was... buying... take control. That can go away. In case I accidentally click that again. Don't want to be doing that. That would be a bad time. USA's oil is going to the Air Force. So it must have a lot of Lend-Lease planes. And in fact, Canada was sending them a lot of planes earlier. So that's probably what the issue there is. Is this an AI-only game? No, this is a big multiplayer game. Most of the major powers of the world are being played. And in fact, if we switch over to the player map mode, I can show you. So it's been a while since we did the introductions, so I think that it is probably time that we did that again. So in the co-prosperity sphere, which is Team Estrategas al Carrer, who are the victors of the Kaiserreich Weekly tournament from last year, so they are, the big fight. They've definitely got pedigree. We have got Bertus in Japan. We've got Antharath in Russia. We've got a random casual player in Fentieng currently bringing the pain. Fabian in Siam, and then Blaze in Indochina. And I really do want to do some more introductions, but I want to take a quick look at the situation for the League of 5 Provinces. So... that's a problem. Yeah, because clearly it's way more important to be garrisoning against these guys who you're not at war with. Oh, come on, Hearts of Iron AI. Seriously. Why are you so bad? Ah. That's just given this to Fentieng. How disappointing. How absolutely disappointing. Well, despite the best efforts of the Reichspakt and basically everybody else, it does look like co-prosperity sphere is going to end up with China. The Entente could still perhaps do something with Gwangju, but it's such a small section. It's one of the richest and most populous areas of China, and there are a lot of resources down here. Though not as many as in Vanilla. That's interesting. Yeah, losing 9 provinces like this. God damn it. Gwangju has declared war on a League of 8 provinces as well. And of course, as soon as they moved their troops away, this happened. Yeah. Disappointing. Are they being supported by anyone? Lend their volunteers from Markleek. That's it. And their independence is being guaranteed by Germany East Asia. So does that mean that Germany East Asia is at war with those guys now? Yes, they are. But yeah, Fentiang definitely looks like they're coming in victorious here. Boo. Meanwhile, Dominion of India fighting against Bharatiya, slowly but surely whittling them back. I mean, this is a bit of a slower conflict. They don't have the mechanized forces that the Americans can bring to the field. They don't have the aircraft, most likely, unless they've been given them. I don't really want to look at the logistics tab, because that will give away what kind of units they have access to. It does look like more and more of the Dominion of Indian forces are securing the Kolkata and Dhaka area, and basically just trying to build as big a front line against Bharatiya as possible. 29 divisions against like 50. So yeah, Dominion of India has just a lot more divisions in the field, which means they can cover a much longer line, and they're using that against Bharatiya. It's actually a pretty smart strategy. So I think Dominion have got that pretty well in hand. We are here to witness the end of the Serbians. A very large portion of their forces caught in a very nice surround, and then the rest of them currently dug in and holding in Belgrade. But they are losing that fight. Bulgaria is going to be able to take the victory here. Winning in Belgrade, winning easily against the cutout. Looks like Serbia is having some serious problems with probably manpower and equipment. So I think that they're going to be able to win this fairly easily. Good war by Bulgaria. I was a little concerned early on when they were taking so little territory so slowly. But they are moving now. What happened to the Transfer player? Transfer's not being played. Oh, yeah, it was one of the admins because they were trying to fix things. Or rather, they weren't trying to fix things, they were stuck in Transfer. And then this is going to be the end of the Balkan War, which is going to allow Bulgaria to start really churning out divisions. Interesting that he's not annexing this stuff. I mean, it is a decision. You can either go for the more manpower-rich strategy. I find it a little questionable that he's planning to use AI divisions, because the AI templates don't tend to be as good. So I think that's probably a bit of a mistake. Rather than using vassal manpower through the... not expeditionary forces, it's you basically create a template using their unit and then their manpower, but then using your equipment. Also, a little bit strange that you wouldn't take control of Romania directly for the oil supplies, especially because you have chromium. And I remember from last time, Bulgaria can get some really mean heavy tanks. Or rather, they can get heavy tanks, not necessarily mean ones. I don't think they actually have any tank producers, and again, I don't really want to check that right now. Meanwhile, what else is going on? Philadelphia has fallen. New York has fallen. So the USA is starting to claw back something from this disastrous war. New England, however, still holding out. They don't have any ports now that they've lost Boston, so getting supplies back into this northern sector is going to be difficult, and also the unit strength of all of these forces is incredibly low. So the CSA is definitely battered and bruised and losing ground. The AUS is pushing up. They're only 2 provinces away from Washington, and if the USA is not careful about this, that's going to cost them. We've got the Swedish Special Forces coming through, Germany in support. We know that the